Hi guys. Well, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the PlayStation VR and the Oculus Rift. Now, obviously, the pricing for the Oculus Rift was released last week and it's far more expensive than was originally thought. And some of the problem with that is that Oculus were the people who were leading people to believe that the pricing was going to be a lot lower than it has subsequently turned out to be. I did make an earlier video talking about this and it was a little bit knee-jerk, so I wanted to go away and have a little bit more of a think about it before I actually came back and said anything more. So anyway, to the pricing of the Oculus Rift. Well, it's $600. Now, that's an awful big wodge of cash to lay out on a piece of technology, especially as when you consider that you have to have a pretty beefy PC to handle it. So you're talking about a PC that's going to cost in the region of maybe $1,000, maybe more. You're certainly going to have to be looking at a decent graphics card in your system, which is going to cost you a fair bit to start with. And if you're laying out that sort of money on your PC and then you're going to have to lay out a large wad of cash on the Oculus Rift, it's pretty prohibitive in terms of the pricing for an awful lot of people out there. And if you're looking at the consumer market, you're looking at, say, impulse buys, this is certainly not one of those. So yeah, the pricing is a bit steep. But, I've thought about this a bit, and when the new TV technology comes out, or a new games console quite often comes out, or Blu-ray, for instance, when Blu-ray first appeared, the machines were very expensive, and obviously they do come down over time. That's not really going to help Oculus at this stage, though. They're looking to be the preeminent technology here. They're looking to be the people who push VR, and that's a problem if you're charging $600, because people are not just going to go out and buy this thing. They're going to have to think about it quite hard. And, a lot of people like me are going to be sitting back and thinking, well, maybe I'm going to wait and see. Because this could turn out to be the next big thing. It could be. Who knows? But it could turn out to be the next Kinect. Let's face it, we all saw Kinect and we all thought, wow, that looks amazing. And then it turned out to be, little more than a gimmick, really. Add to that, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he was talking about 3D TV. And if you look at what happens with 3D movies, a lot of them that are done in post-production don't look all that great. If you're going to make a movie for 3D, you really need to think about it in terms of 3D. And you have to make that movie for that format. You can't really use things like jump cuts and so on in 3D movies in the same way that you would in a normal 2D movie. The technology doesn't allow for that, so you have to film in a different way. You have to think about it in a different way. And that's true, with some caveats, that's true for VR as well. Okay, there are games that lend themselves to VR. Specifically, the first thing that comes to my mind is first-person shooters. I can see that would work with VR to some degree. And I was listening to somebody the other day who was talking about space sims and things like that. So maybe they could be done in post-production. Maybe you could think about it after the fact. You could tack VR onto it, perhaps. I don't know. But I still think that ultimately, if you're going to make something for VR, you're going to have to think VR from day one. And if you're a developer and you're looking at VR and you're seeing the Oculus Rift and it's $600 and the vast majority of people aren't going to be buying it, certainly in the early days, that's a disincentive to produce for that platform. So that's a problem. It will probably come down in price, let's be honest, over time as more people come to the market. Oculus itself is probably going to come down in price. But for the time being, I think it's a bit of a stretch for most people. But that brings me to the PlayStation VR. The PlayStation VR is designed to work with the PlayStation. Now, anyone watching my videos knows that I've mentioned a few times that the PlayStation and the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, are both underpowered really. If you compare them against mid-range PCs that are out there at the moment, then you can see that they really don't cut it in terms of pure hardware performance. That's not to say they're not good consoles, they are, and you know, I enjoy playing both. But if the Oculus Rift requires this massive amount of hardware behind it in terms of a PC in order to perform at its best, how is the PlayStation going to drive a VR headset? Okay, you know, I haven't looked into it in great detail. Maybe PlayStation VR has got a lot more on board. Maybe there's a lot more processing power on board. But that then raises the question, if the Oculus Rift is $600, how much is Sony going to have to charge in order to just break even with the PlayStation VR? Because let's be honest, Sony aren't going to want to lose money on this. They can't really afford to, not at the moment. Okay, their fortunes have turned around a little bit recently, but they're still struggling, really. And PlayStation's doing fantastically, but the whole of Sony isn't. So this hardware is going to have to make a profit. Even if not on the hardware itself, certainly the software for it is going to have to make a profit. So I have a problem getting my head around this one. In terms of power, in terms of cost, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the PlayStation VR turns out to be spectacularly good. I hope Oculus Rift turns out to be spectacularly good. But I still think it's too early. I don't think that we're ready for VR just yet. But we'll see. Won't we? Time will tell. But anyway, what do you guys think? Maybe you think I'm talking nonsense. Maybe you agree with me. I don't know. Come into the comments, have a word. Let's have an argument about it. Let's talk about it. You know, keep it civil, but let's talk about it. Anyway, that's really all I wanted to say about that today. I will speak to you guys again soon. Bye.